Hello, good morning, everybody, and maybe good evening. I'm happy and delighted to open the first DreamEd Advisor Academy presentation. Technology has become a major component of diabetes management. DreamEd was started in a diabetes clinic by a group of physicians and engineers that aim to bring human intelligence to artificial intelligence technology to improve care for those living with diabetes. The Advisor Academy is a free online platform with conference features that lasted latest innovation, research, products, and expertise in diabetes care technology. The Academy will showcase live monthly lectures from leading experts, key opinion leaders in the field of diabetes technology. The lectures and other presentations from events and conferences will be available online from later viewing. To learn more about the Academy, you are welcome to visit our website. So we can start. I'm Ravita Nimri. I'm a pediatric endocrinology, and I have worked on developing and implementation of diabetes technology for over 10 years. For the first Academy lecture, we thought a fitting subject would be the emerging digital world and its impact on diabetes care. During this lecture, you can ask questions by clicking the question button at the bottom of the page, and I will answer them at the end of the lecture. We live in a digital world. Today, there are more mobile connections than people in the world. Digitalization had led to producing and creating a society that is rich in data. People and devices are connected. Digital technology has the ability to reach billions of people around the world, anywhere and anytime, thus creating a digital solution in almost every field of life, and also in diabetes. Digital is not a thing. It is a new way of doing things. The digital revolution has also created a new way of interacting. This generation is social, but in its own way. Here is a collection of photos from my family gathering. They interact a lot, as you can see, but in a different way, through a Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Mobile technologies has forever changed the landscape of human interaction and relation, and it will do so for patient-physician interaction as well. Traditional diabetes care is no longer an option. In the past, the physician needed to deal with a small amount of data. Treatment decisions were simpler and took less time. Today, the data is abundant and complex. The physician needs to be a kind of detective in order to make treatment decisions. However, using more technology and data does not always generate better outcome. A recently published longitudinal study from the US Exchange Registry demonstrated that there is a steady rise in implementation of new technology, as you can see, the pump and the CGM. However, this increased data acquisition has not translated to improvement in glycemic control. Actually, glycemic control has deteriorated slightly between 2012 and 2018, mainly among teens and emerging adults. Something is not working right. Something is missing. But it worked to the diabetes control and complication trials. The DCT showed that intensive treated group achieved 2% reduction in glycemic A1C compared to conventional group. And how they did it? By weekly in-person clinic visit until target ranges were achieved. The inevitable conclusion is that frequent insulin titration is the key for successful outcome. So what is needed to match the DCCT? I did some calculations. Studies have shown that it takes 18 minutes to analyze pump data and 15 minutes for bolus calculator data. If you would like to incorporate additional insulin titration every week in our Schneider Diabetes Institute, that has 1,700 patients, we will need an additional 11 physicians in a full-time job. So it poses healthcare burden and time is needed. But the current healthcare system cannot support technology utilization, and some lack the expertise. Time is needed for consultant, and we don't have more providers. There is a shortage in the healthcare provider, even that is even greater in rural area in developing countries. So should we transfer some of the responsibility to patients? Realizing the importance of patient-recorded outcome has led to diabetes care delivery becoming more patient-centered. People living with diabetes are driving development, as you can see, and taking active part in consensus statements and guidelines. Our patients cope with diabetes far away from the examination room. If we want to capture their attention and engage them in their care, then we must reach beyond the clinic. Is more information an advantage or a burden to patients? So I can just read a stat from that says, customer health movement is all about putting information in the hand of patients, with the idea that putting information in the hand of the patient is the key to empowerment and better health outcome, except they rarely lead to this promised land. Let's ask the people, what is their perspective? What are their obstacles in utilizing technology? Part of the answer to technology paradox was given by the inspiration lecture by David Merrow at the 2015 ADA meeting. And I would like to cite a few relevant quotes which highlights the need of people with diabetes in support in access to quality care and management self-tools. Even with all of this innovation, medication, and technology, my biggest obstacle to maintaining good control of my diabetes is me. The presented feature illustrates the relationship between the time spent in self-managing diabetes, you can see it in blue, and time spent with a healthcare provider in white. In the course of a year, only 0.1% of the time is accompanied with a healthcare professional. We need tools to help patients. We wanted to understand what patients want and do regarding self-adjustment of insulin dosing. So we invited patients who attend our clinic for regular visit to participate in a 15-questionnaire survey. 47 patients completed the survey, and their demographic characteristics are presented in this slide. One group of questions aimed to look at the behavior of patients regarding self-adjustment of insulin dosing. And the second group of questions that we asked aimed to evaluate attitude and acceptance of automated decision support system. I will present some of the data. As you can see, more than half of participants indicated they do not change their pump setting by themselves. 24% will approach their physician or nurse to adjust a setting in a case they feel it is needed. Around 40% do adjust insulin dosing, but to a small or certain extent. A minority of the participants adjust regularly. Of those who do adjust their insulin dosing by themselves, you can see that the basal rate is the most frequent one. Another question aimed to evaluate the frequency of self-adjustment of insulin dosing according to the glucose sensor trend. 1/3 of participants do not use the trends at all. So they have a sensor but don't use it actually. And 1/4 use it all the time. The most frequent answer for the reason why not to use the trends were, I'm not confident enough to do it on my own, and changing insulin dosing is hard for me. Of not, we found significant correlation between self-adjustment insulin dosing based on sensor glucose trends and the level of A1C. Patient needs tools. The fact that can be identified as obstacle for periodic and real-time self-adjustment of insulin dosing are the need to download the data and to reach the healthcare provider. Some patients do not have confidence nor ability to adjust insulin by themselves. And finally, there is a need for real-time share and support. A decision support system utilizing cloud-based technology can be a way to support patients with dosing decision through sharing, analyzing the data. In that way, the decision comes seamlessly to the patients. In this recent comprehensive and well-structured recommendation guidelines for adult use in Libre, you can clearly appreciate the amount of instruction that one needs to remember and conduct several times a day in order to amend insulin dosing according to the Libre glucose trend. This is certainly not easy, and people cannot do that. And by sharing the data and getting support, the task may be easier. A recent retrospective study showed that glycemic control of CGM users who share their data in real time with followers was better than those who do not share. The reason for that is still needs to be examined, but possible explanation could be more timely intervention, like we said. A frequent insulin titration can lead to better control. So current available digital technology is most suitable to close the gap in diabetes management. This slide represents the evolving concept of a multidisciplinary digital clinic. People can have 24/7 tools to cope with the daily task of diabetes. You can see here they can have apps for diet plan, for physical activity, for social media, sharing the data, use educational aids, and so on. And the healthcare provider in the upper part of the slide can offer frequent contact to increase adherence to medical treatment and routine lab tests by text messages and reminder, have a better screening of complication as we have apps for that, for identifying diabetic retinopathy and fundal images and diabetic foot neuropathy. The interaction with the healthcare provider can be facilitated by remote monitoring, provided frequent insulin dose titration and clinical recommendation. This may be formulated automatically or with the assistance of decision support algorithm reviewed by the physician, then transferred back to the patient whenever needed. This decision support can be part of virtual telemedicine, and several studies showed that digital clinic and telemedicine can improve quality of care and can bring health care and expertise to places that needs them the most. Record high satisfaction with visited, reduced travel and time lost from work and so in school, and demonstrate similar level of care compared to face-to-face. What is a decision support system? Here is the best example that I found for a decision support given with an actionable recommendation. Is the use of the fertility tracker app that tells women when is the best time to try to get pregnant? Based on data analytic of body temperature, previous periods and patterns and so on. More specific, what is the time to call him? And hope that this would be his reaction. So in diabetes data, in the same way data is coming from different sources, today we have connected devices, sensors, and a lot of data, huge data. In order to make a decision about insulin dosing, we need a valuable, specific technology and analytic method for its transformation into value. Is more amount of data complex for a patient? But it's a gold mine for algorithm, and I show you in the couple of slides. For people, less data makes decisions simpler. More data complicate decisions. But the other way around happens for algorithm. The more data, the more it gets better. Use of big data and machine learning enable the computer to recognize patterns and learn from the past and during real time. The more meal data, for example, it analyzes, the better it gets. Here is an example. DreamMed developed the ability to predict glucose value 1 hour ahead, taking into account patient current glucose, insulin, and carb consumption. The technology is based on big data analytic and deep learning. You can appreciate the good correlation between the true CGM data and the predicted glucose levels based on the algorithm. Hyperglycemia prediction has higher sensitivity, means that it can be detected in higher certainty than hypoglycemia prediction. This happens as hyperglycemic events occur more frequent than hypoglycemic events. Therefore, the predictor is biased to predict more hyperglycemic than hypoglycemic events. This is also the reason why less polarams is higher in hypoglycemia detection than hyperglycemia. More data, more precise prediction. Interpretation of valuable sensor glucose and insulin data is complex and time-consuming, as we said. Algorithms can help provide cloud-based analytic technology for insulin treatment optimization, able to fit in some of the gap in resources, facilitate frequent insulin dose adjustment, and guide self-management. The DreamMed Advisor Pro is such a tool. It is an FDA-approved system intended for healthcare providers to improve the care they give to people living with type 1 diabetes, who are using insulin pump therapy and monitor their glucose level by continuous glucose monitoring or self-glucose measurement. How does it work? Advisor Pro uses raw data from patient various devices, upload to detect glucose patterns and events, such as hypo and hyper events. Insulin dosing decisions are based on this event detection. Then the Advisor Pro recommends exact dosing adjustment to the insulin pump setting, like basal rate, carbohydrate ratio, and correction factors, and provide personalized diabetic management tips relating to the way the individual delivers insulin, like you do not bolus for every meal, you overcorrect hypos event, and so on. I like to compare it to a stethoscope, but this time it is a glucoscope and consultant tool to help the healthcare provider to diagnose the level of glucose control, detect glucose patterns, find pitfalls in management, and suggest how to adjust insulin dosing through web cloud communication. Currently, the advisor is integrated into GlucoDMS, diabetes management system, or standalone using Typepool. As a consultant, it should be demonstrated as being non-inferior to an expert healthcare professional. So we conducted a survey to examine how similar are automated dosing adjustment to what experienced physician would recommend. Recommendation for insulin pump setting adjustment based on 15 anonymous patient data were made by 26 different physician experts in diabetes technology coming from 16 centers. These recommendations were compared to the automation, to the DREAMED Advisor Pro. The recommendations were compared with regard to the overall basal CR and CF plan in the direction of the insulin dosing changes. Study endpoints were the percentage of comparison point of which there was full or no agreement on the direction of changes in the treatment plan. So, full agreement between physicians in the direction of insulin adjustment between physicians themselves, you can see here in red, were around only 51 to 54% of each of the pump parameters. This was similar, as you can see on the blue top, between the physicians and the Advisor Pro. So we can say that automated dosing recommendation of the Advisor Pro did not differ from that given from experienced physician in direction and magnitude of insulin dosing. It is just another member to consult with, to knock on the door and to make clinical visit more effective and to help adjust insulin dosing in between visits and facilitate direct communication between healthcare provider and the user, the patients, using the management tips. Medicine is not an exact science, therefore it is accepted and encouraged to consult and ask for a second opinion. This has always happened in Gray's Anatomy, but for the single doctor participating in his own clinic, there is no one to consult with. He is on his own. Algorithms can provide consultant tools. The effectiveness of the Advisor Pro was tested in a pilot studies comparing insulin titration made by the advisors and expert physician in a parallel design. In both studies, glycemic control was compared between the advisor and the physician-guided dosing adjustment. And we just completed a week ago a multi-center, multinational advice for use study conducted in 7 different sites of diabetes excellent care in Europe and in the USA, as you can see in the slide. The study aimed to evaluate the safety and efficacy of a DREAMED Advisor Pro to frequent adjust insulin dosing in young person with type 1 diabetes using sensor-augmented pump therapy. This was an open label, 2 arms. Every 3 weeks, patients were given insulin dose titration adjustments, once with the algorithm and once with the physician guided. We hope that soon we'll have the data to share it with you. And here you can see the flow of the study. Data was uploaded to Gluco, the advisor in a split of a minute or 2, analyze the data, send it to the physician to review and share it then with the patient that can see it in their application, in their smartphones or the PC. So decision support system can support treatment decision for a wide range of people living with diabetes, whether treated with injections or pump, monitor glucose with glucometers or CGM or any other modalities. Here in this slide, I brought some of this randomized control study that was done, publishing from 2010, and you can appreciate that this support system can improve diabetes care. And what about people with diabetes? They ready for digital care. So you can see here in our survey, participants express their will and acceptance to use an automated decision support tool, which give even a direct advice to them on how to adjust insulin dosing. So in summary, we are facing a tremendous and non-stoppable progress in the field of diabetes-related digital technologies. Automated tools support treatment decisions for a wide range of people with diabetes. Retrospective and in real time have the potential to improve clinical outcomes and may increase access to care as they become accessible to more patients, enhancing utilization of healthcare resources by integrating e-health and telemonitoring. So I can compare the traditional clinical visits is like the SMBGs, monitoring the patient only 4 times a year, while digital clinic is like continuous glucose monitoring it continuously. So I would like to end and thank you all for listening. I would like to thank all our collaboration, my friends and colleagues in DreamEd, and all the physicians and mostly the participants in our studies. And finally to Professor Philip and my colleagues in Schneider Children's Medical Center of Israel, which I'm proud to be part of this supportive and quality team. And now I can see if you have some questions, we can answer. So I'm just looking for the questions. And I have one question coming. How long does it take to generate a recommendation from the time the data was uploaded? So this is a nice question, which I would like to answer. So the minute that the patient or the user that wants to have recommendation from his healthcare providers, he uploads the data, the physician gets a note in the population tracker of glucose that there is a recommendation for the patient. He can open it, review each and every one of the pump setting. He can edit it, approve or change, and after he reviewed all the things, he can share it with the patient. The amount of time that it takes from upload until the recommendation gets to the physician or the healthcare provider, it takes about a minute or 2. That's all. I can wait for other questions, which I don't have. It was my pleasure sharing this time with you, and hope to hear and hope that you will connect in the next presentation that we'll have in DreamEd Advisor Academy. Thank you and bye all.